Ladies and gentlemen, Investor Talk is back with a mining CEO video, and this is not just a mining CEO, it's an old friend, a face that many of you will recognize from past times, from great Panther times. Bob, I'm really happy to have you. Great Panther, new range, now Pinnacle Silver. The times change, but people remain. Let's talk today about your new venture, your new project in Mexico. Good to have you.
Hi, Jan. It's great to be working with you again. So it's a pleasure.
My pleasure also. Bob, we didn't talk for quite a while, so let's go a little bit back into the past. Great Panther, you built it from scratch, literally. It was a very successful, a good successful mining story. Then 2017, things changed, you left, new management came, and then things didn't develop so successfully. It was not up to you, but you showed with your team and yourself you created a mid-size precious metals miner. Do you intend now to repeat the story or do something similar?
Yeah, absolutely, Jan. That's correct. I mean, we built Great Panther from scratch, from two guys and an idea, basically, and it was a very successful business model. I mean, one that's been used by other companies. At that same time, First Majestic, Endeavor Silver, Fortuna Silver. We all started at about the same time, around 2003, 2004, and built our respective companies. It's the concept of taking an older mine, refurbishing it, bringing it back into production, and building it up from there, and then just building the company as much out of cash flow as possible. Rather than always relying on the stock markets, and that's really when we did that back in the early 2000s, it was coming off of a very difficult time, post Bre-X in the late 90s, and then the dot-com era in the early 2000s, when it was very, very difficult to raise money for mining projects. And we've seen the same sort of thing happen, recently, where the last few years have been extremely difficult to raise money, especially for the juniors. And essentially, we just reverted back to that business model and just thought, look, if we can do this again, and take an old mine, bring it back into production, and then get to cash flow fairly quickly, and really try to build the company from there. As opposed to relying on the markets and dilutive financings at low prices. So I mean that's really the way you build shareholder value is by not diluting the company as much as possibly can. I mean, to get going, of course, there will be some initial financings required, but once you get to a certain point, the concept is to keep building from there. And with the high metal prices that we're seeing right now, there are lots of analysts putting out charts and so on, showing the margins that the producers are actually making right now. Between the high metal prices and their costs, which have remained relatively low. So for precious metals producers, the producers are making a lot of money right now, and so we want to try and get to that point as quickly as we possibly can, and build the company from there.
To the valuation we come later. You saw the news today. The US labor market was not good, so I think we can expect a rate cut by 0.5%, gold and silver up. I think we are now really in a time where the fundamentals are so strong for gold and silver. When not now, should you make a business out of that? Let's have a look at your El Potrero property in Mexico.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, El Potrero has a number of things that we really liked and were looking for. I mean, for one thing, it's located in the Sierra Madre gold-silver belt in Mexico, which is one of the most prolific gold-silver belts in the world. We're surrounded by four operating mines within a 35-kilometer radius. The largest being La Cienega, owned by Fresnillo, which is the largest silver silver company in the world. La Cienega is a 4,000 ton per day underground operation. And then just to the southwest of us is the Topia mine, which was really the first mine that we acquired with Great Panther to get the company started. It's a high grade mine, silver district that dates back to 1538. We're in a very, very good district. The Tawaweto mine, owned by Luca Mining, is just to the northwest of us as well. So it's nice to be surrounded by operating mines, and these are high grade mines for the most part. And that's one of the things we really liked about El Potrero was that it's a high grade project. It was in production back in the late 1980s, albeit on a fairly small scale. But it was never developed by what we would call modern mining methods. There's been very, very little drilling, and really no consistent systematic exploration. And the plant, there's a small plant there, about 100 tons per day. Since it hasn't operated in 35 years, it will need to be rebuilt, refurbished, new equipment, and so on. But the basic infrastructure is sound. It's there, the foundation, all the framework, and everything. Very.
If you don't mind, I would show some pictures of the old plant that you have on site. It can be found at your website here. Also the maps and the surrounding landscape, some old workings. Here is the processing plant. You said it need to be refurbished, that's obvious, but it should be done pretty quickly and I think at absolutely reasonable costs.
Yeah, that's correct. Those pictures are actually need to be updated now because we've cleared away all that vegetation, and so the site looks a lot better. We've gone in there with a metallurgical engineer to take a look at it to see what needs to be replaced and rebuilt, and roughly how much it might cost and the time frame and that sort of thing. So we're working on all of that now. But the fact that the plant is there and the old mines are there, it means that this is what we would call a disturbed site. The site has been used before, so we're not going into a brand new virgin area, and building new roads, cutting down trees, and establishing a new mining area. So from a permitting standpoint, this should be a lot faster, and plus the fact that it's a small underground operation, it's not a large open pit, so the footprint is relatively small also. So those all bode well for future permitting. So we're putting all that information together, and we've already started to have preliminary discussions with the environmental authorities, as to what they're looking for and so on. So we're getting all that underway and moving the project forward.
Do you have, for instance, any replacement value? What is currently standing there? And how much time do you expect to get it done, refurbish it?
Well, as I say, we're still working on those high level estimates right now, but what we've been working with since the beginning almost, from our first estimates, is somewhere in the ballpark of 2 to 3 million, and US, and probably about a year to actually do the physical work. We'll just have to work through the permitting process, and if we can permit it in stages where we can get in there and establish a camp and the office buildings and that sort of thing, and then start to rebuild the plant, as well as doing some rehabilitation of the underground workings as well. Because there are three old mines along a 500 meter strike length, all in line, and we've been working underground on all of those, channel sampling, systematic channel sampling underground to get a better idea of what's there. Of course, some of it has been mined out, and we don't really know. We don't have any old records from past production, so we don't know for sure what's been mined, what the grades were, or that sort of thing. But just verbally from talking to the owner, they were looking at about 10 grams per ton gold equivalent. So reasonably high grade, and so that's kind of what we're working with going forward. And it's been owned by that same person since the 1980s. So nothing's been done. That's one of the reasons why I really like this, because it's has lots of upside, because it hasn't been developed at all.
Do you plan to establish an 43-101 resource, or is rather getting it back to production your focus?
Yeah, it's more the latter. We whether we'll actually develop 43-101 or not, I'm not sure at this point in time, but our focus really is on getting it into production as quickly as we can. So we're not intending to be out there, drilling and trying to build a big resource. At 100 tons per day, that's only about 35,000 tons per year. So that's not a huge tonnage, and so the work that we're going to be doing, and we're hoping to start with underground drilling, actually, not surface drilling. So we're not going to be drilling big step outs to try and build up a big resource. We're going to be focused underground, and it's going to be really definition drilling, delineation drilling, to try and prove up, the size and shape of the mineralization, the shoots that we're dealing with. And, the channel sampling has given us a really good indication of that so far. And we have released those results this past summer. And, we're getting, individual sample grades up to 85 grams per ton underground, and composite channel composites of 50 grams per ton. So, there are very high grades in places. Not to say that that'll be the average, but when you're getting those kinds of high grades in pockets, certainly, the average can come back, in the sort of range that we were expecting. So just from the early work that we've done, our average right now is standing at about 12 grams per ton gold equivalent, whereas, as I said, our estimate going in was somewhere around 10 grams. So not far off. And if we can be, mining and processing with that kind of a head grade, then that at 100 tons per day, that would produce about 12,000 ounces gold equivalent per year. And depending on what we figure the margins are going to be, for every $1,000 of margin, that's $12 million a year. Which, if we could get to that point in 2 to 3 years, that would be pretty amazing, and then we could really start to build the company, and we wouldn't have to be relying on the markets, as I say.
I read somewhere at your website that this old plant is perfectly scalable. So if it works and if you have enough ore feed, you can also go from 100 tons to 200 and above, right?
Yeah, that's correct. And but as I say, we're not looking to try and build up a resource to justify 200 or 300 or 400 tons a day before we start. We want to get this going at the 100-ton level, because that's roughly the size of the plant at the moment, and then use those funds to continue to build out the project from there. But importantly, we're trying to build a company here, not just one project. So, even as we're doing that with El Potrero, we're looking for the next acquisition. What's the next one going to be, and then we'll try to build from there. Just as we did with Great Panther. So that's really the goal. So, El Potrero is. It's kind of a means to an end, if you like. It's just a first step along the way of building a company.
And do you see also a chance there to make at this property new discoveries, or will you rather focus on the old workings?
Well, the initial focus will be on the old workings, obviously, because that's, they're already there. The underground workings are there, and we'll just continue to build those out. But certainly, yeah, I mean, we've been doing a fair bit of surface mapping as well, and we've identified that well, the main vein system that these mines are on is at least 1.6 kilometers. That's how far we've traced it along surface. And then we know now also that there is at least one main parallel vein to that, about 200 meters away. And then there are likely splay veins connecting the two, and some of which are just, they're, sporadically exposed on surface. So, we don't necessarily have a lot to work with just from the surface mapping. We will have to get to surface drilling at some point. But we definitely know that there are other parts to this system, and with 1,600 meters of strike length that we've identified so far, there's certainly lots to work on. So once we do get to surface drilling, there'll be lots of targets there, and we'll be looking to identify new areas of mineralization, because in these epithermal systems, it's not a continuous sheet of mineralization. The mineralization does tend to occur in what we call chutes, or clavos, as they call them in Mexico. And so you need to identify those, and they can be typically about 35 to 50 meters along strike, and maybe 50 to 200 meters vertically. So it's not like working in Canada where these things go down for kilometers or anything. The vertical extent is a little less, but they can be very continuous systems along strike. And the other mines that surround us are certainly indicative of that. And so I'm quite familiar with the district and with the style of mineralization. So I'm very comfortable with this. And as a geologist myself, I really like the potential of the project for additional discoveries down the road.
Sounds very good. Let me show at the end of our interview a graphic that I found from Tavi Costa here on X that shows what a margin the producers now can enjoy, and it is really huge. Those are the
Mhm.
all-in sustaining costs. The median costs at 1,500 and something dollars. I think the inflation will pick up, but with it, very likely also the gold price. So it's a perfect time to be in this business. And I even expect you probably also that silver will surpass the increase of the gold price. So it's a perfect place or perfect market to be. And your market cap right now is around 8 million Canadian. You have warrants that will be executed, which will bring money in. So I think the valuation is really still low, and with those numbers inside 12,000 ounces equivalent and this margin, I think it's pretty much a no-brainer. Still a lot of potential.
No, absolutely, and I totally agree with you there. I mean, we're really just getting started. I mean, we just picked up this project at the end of February, so it's really only been 6 months, a little over 6 months that we've been working on this. But I think we've made some great advancements so far, and then we're continuing to do that. We'll be continuing to put out news as we get results in from our sampling, and we'll be starting to do some metallurgical work soon, to get a better sense of what we can expect in terms of recoveries from the plant, and then just continue with the studies on the mining and metallurgy and plant, to try and build this out, and then working through with permitting and so on. And I think there's a very good chance to fund the capex from an offtake agreement with some of the metal traders. So there's definitely money available for that, and we've had some preliminary discussions in that regard. So even though the capex is not high, with some mine rehabilitation, and we'll extend the power line, which is only 3 kilometers away, extend that down to the plants. So all of that capex, we may be looking at somewhere in the 3 million range, and so it's not super high, and I think we can probably fund that, out of an offtake agreement. So if we can do that, then again, that'll be non-dilutive, and we should be able to move that forward fairly quickly. So all of that's in the works, and so yeah, I'm really excited about the potential here, and as I say, always on the lookout for the next one as well.
Oh, thank you for the update. It was a pleasure to talk to you again. We are all in the same boat. I'm looking forward to your next press releases to announce progress. And yes, now silver to the moon, although the accompanying circumstances are not the best, but it's not our fault. Now, finally, we who were bleeding many years are now enjoying at least a bit of the precious metals bull run. Have a good time and have a
Mhm.
good day and weekend in Vancouver, of course. Saludos.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Jan. Take care.
We thank you. You too. Bye bye.